Every holiday, our office gets gift baskets, but we rarely do. This year, someone shared some with us, full of nuts and treats. Our VP started rating them daily, calling pistachios rich man's nuts while stealing them. He earns 5 times my salary and never fought for our raises. So I ate every single pistachio myself. My stomach hurts, but my pride is full. He can't take any more. Every year, right around the middle of December, something changes in the building. It isn't dramatic. No one makes an announcement. There's no email from HR that says, "The season of giving has officially commenced." But you feel it anyway. The air conditioning gets turned down a notch because someone upstairs decided festive mood means slightly warmer corridors. The security guards at the entrance start wearing those cheap red and green Santa hats that look ridiculous on grown men with serious faces. The coffee machine in the pantry suddenly has those little holiday-flavored pods, peppermint mocha, gingerbread latte, even though nobody asked for them, and half the people complain they taste like toothpaste mixed with dessert. And then the baskets start arriving. They don't all come at once. That would be too organized. They trickle in, 1 or 2 a day at first, like the first hesitant drops before a proper rain. Monday morning, someone from reception messages the general WhatsApp group. New gift basket from ABC Solutions just arrived. Attached is a photo, cellophane wrap catching the fluorescent light, gold ribbon curled into perfect spirals, a little card tucked under the bow that probably says, "Wishing you a prosperous new year," or something equally corporate. By Tuesday afternoon, there are 3 more. Wednesday brings 5. Thursday, people stop counting. By Friday, the reception desk looks like a small luxury market stall that forgot to put up prices. I walk past it every morning on my way to the lift. I never stop long. I don't want to look greedy, but I always slow down just enough to take inventory with my eyes. There's the tall, narrow one from the law firm we sometimes work with. Black, matte box, silver logo embossed. Inside, you can see the necks of miniature champagne bottles peeking out like they're trying to escape. There's the wide, shallow wicker basket from one of the software vendors, gingham cloth lining, piles of shortbread fingers, jars of marmalade with gingham lids to match, little packets of Scottish tablet that look like they were made in someone's actual grandmother's kitchen. There's the glossy red box from the bank we use, always the same red box every year, always Ferrero Rocher and a bottle of something that costs more than my monthly electricity bill. I don't touch any of them. Not yet. I just look. Because our department doesn't get sent baskets directly. We're the shadow people. We don't sit in glass cabins on the 14th floor with city views. We don't take clients out for golf. We don't present quarterly slides with dramatic bar charts that make managing directors nod approvingly. We sit in the windowless part of the 7th floor, surrounded by filing cabinets that haven't been opened since 2018, staring at Excel sheets that track things nobody ever asks about until something goes wrong. We are the people who make sure the numbers add up after everyone else has already celebrated closing the deal. So no client ever writes our names on a gift tag. No vendor ever thinks, "I should send something to the compliance and reporting team." They don't even know we exist. That's why the baskets sting a little every year. You walk past reception and see marketing walking away with 2, finance carrying 1 between 3 people like it's a shared treasure, sales already posting Instagram stories with the caption, "Grateful for great partners," chocolate, gift, emoji. And you just keep walking to your corner, open your laptop, and pretend the knot in your stomach is just hunger. But this year, this one single year, something small shifted. It was Thursday, I think, or maybe Wednesday. The days blur together when you're waiting for something nice to happen. Aisha from marketing appeared at our door. She's one of the few people who actually speaks to us like we're humans instead of background processes. She knocks. Actually knocks instead of just barging in. She smiles. She remembers names. She was holding 2 baskets, not the show-off ones, not the champagne and caviar ones, but still baskets. Guys, she said, a little out of breath, like she'd run down 3 floors. These were extras, like properly extras. We already took what we wanted, and these were just sitting there. I figured, better you than them going back to the vendors or ending up in the security guard room. She set them on the empty desk near the printer, the one nobody uses because the printer jams every 3rd page. We stared. Not dramatically, not like in movies, just quietly stunned. 2 baskets. One was medium-sized, wicker, lined with red tissue paper. Inside, a big tin of roasted and salted mixed nuts, cashews mostly, some almonds, a handful of pistachios on top like they were sprinkled there to look generous, 3 bars of dark chocolate with sea salt, a packet of rosemary and olive oil crackers, a small jar of green olives stuffed with garlic, another little bag of dried Turkish apricots, another little bag of figs that looked almost too perfect to eat. The second one was smaller, cardboard box with a magnetic closure. Inside, salted caramel popcorn in a cello bag tied with twine, chocolate-dipped pretzels, trail mix with M&Ms, 4 pieces of local barfi wrapped in silver foil, a packet of digestive biscuits, and, unexpectedly, a tiny jar of cinnamon honey. It wasn't luxury, it wasn't the kind of thing you'd see in a glossy magazine spread, but it was ours. For maybe the first time in 4 years, something nice had landed in our department without us having to beg, borrow, or pretend we didn't care. We didn't tear into them immediately. That's the strange part. We could have. Nobody was watching. But instead, we did this quiet, almost ceremonial thing. Sajid opened the nut tin first, just the lid. We all leaned in like we were looking at something fragile and expensive. The smell hit, that warm, salty, slightly oily roasted nut smell that instantly makes your mouth water even if you're not hungry. Pistachios, he said softly, like he'd discovered gold. Real ones, not the tiny, cheap ones. I picked one up, shells smooth and half open already, the green nut inside peeking out. I didn't eat it yet. I just held it. We left the baskets on the side table, not attacked, like a museum display. People took one thing at a time, 1 chocolate bar on Monday afternoon, a handful of popcorn on Tuesday morning, 3 crackers with a colleague at 4 p.m. when we were all tired and needed salt. It felt civilized, almost gentle. And every time I walked past that table, I felt a tiny glow inside my chest. We had something. Not much, not forever, but for now, for these few December days, we had something. And that feeling, that small, fragile, ridiculous feeling, was worth more than any Ferrero Rocher tower on the 14th floor. Of course, I didn't know yet that the VP would start visiting. Of course, I didn't know he would develop a sudden passion for rich man's nuts. Of course, I didn't know I'd end up eating 4 entire sleeves of pistachios just to keep them out of his hands. All I knew, standing there on that Thursday or Wednesday in mid-December, holding 1 perfect pistachio in my palm without cracking it yet, was this. For once, the shadow people had been seen, even if only for a moment, even if only by another department's leftovers. It was enough. It felt like enough. I still remember the exact sound the door made when Aisha pushed it open that afternoon. It wasn't a dramatic slam or a cheerful swing, just a soft, slightly sticky creak because the hinges hadn't been oiled since probably 2019. Our office door always sounded tired, like it was apologizing for existing. She stood there holding 2 baskets, one balanced on her hip like a mother carrying groceries, the other gripped in her right hand. Her ponytail was coming loose on one side, and she had that slightly flushed look people get when they've hurried down 3 flights of stairs carrying awkward things. "Guys," she said, breathing a little harder than normal, "don't get too excited, but these are for you." Nobody moved at first. Sajid was halfway through typing an email. Rabia had her reading glasses halfway down her nose, staring at a PDF that had been open since 9:17 a.m. I was pretending to organize a folder of last quarter's audit notes, even though I'd already organized them twice that week. We all froze like deer in headlights, not because we were scared, but because nice things don't usually happen to us. When they do, the brain needs a second to catch up. Aisha didn't wait for us to respond. She walked straight to the empty desk beside the printer, the one we call the graveyard desk because nothing productive has happened there in years, and set both baskets down with a gentle double thump. Marketing already rated the good stuff, she explained, brushing hair out of her eyes. The fancy wine ones, the truffle chocolate towers, all gone. These were literally the leftovers, like the ones nobody fought over. I was going to take them home, but then I thought, nah, you people never get anything, so here. She gave a small shrug, the kind that says don't make this a big deal even though it already was. Then she left, just like that. Door creak, soft footsteps fading down the corridor, gone. We stared at the baskets, the way you stare at something you're not sure you're allowed to have. The first one was wicker, real wicker, not the cheap plastic kind they sell at roadside stalls. It had a faint, dusty smell, like it had been sitting in someone's storeroom for months. Red tissue paper poked out the top like little flames. I reached forward first, slowly, like I was touching something that might disappear if I moved too fast. Inside, a big, round tin, silver with a red lid, the kind that makes a satisfying pop when you open it. The label said premium roasted and salted nut medley. I could see cashews curving like pale commas, almonds looking smug and whole, and right on top, almost posed, a scattering of pistachios. Their shells were cream and pale green, some already cracked open just enough to tease the emerald nut inside. 3 bars of dark chocolate, 70% cocoa, sea salt crystals glittering on top like tiny snowflakes, a rectangular packet of crackers, rosemary and olive oil flavor. You could smell them through the wrapping, sharp, herby, faintly peppery. A small glass jar of green olives, each one stuffed with a sliver of garlic like they were wearing little white scarves. 2 clear plastic bags of dried fruit, Turkish apricots the color of burnt orange, and figs so dark they looked almost black, dusted with something that might have been sugar or just their own natural bloom. The second basket was simpler, a matte black cardboard box with a magnetic flap that snapped shut with a satisfying click. Salted caramel popcorn in a cello bag tied with kitchen twine, the kernels looked glossy, almost wet with caramel. A small tray of chocolate-dipped pretzels, the chocolate thick and uneven like someone had dipped them by hand. Trail mix with colorful M&Ms winking through peanuts and raisins. 4 pieces of barfi, the local kind, not the fancy imported stuff. Silver foil wrappers crinkled when I touched them. They smelled faintly of cardamom and ghee. A boring packet of digestive biscuits, the kind your mother keeps in the cupboard for guests she doesn't like very much. And then, the surprise, a tiny hexagonal jar of cinnamon honey. The honey inside was dark amber, almost reddish, and you could see flecks of cinnamon floating like autumn leaves caught in syrup. We didn't speak for maybe 30 seconds. Then Rabia whispered, "These are actually nice." Sajid laughed, a short, surprised bark. Yeah, they didn't even send us the "sorry we forgot you exist" basket. This is decent. I didn't say anything. I just kept looking at the pistachios. I've never been a huge nut person. Growing up, we mostly had peanuts, cheap, roasted in a roadside cart, still warm in a paper cone. Pistachios felt like something other people ate. Rich people, people who didn't count every rupee before buying groceries. Seeing them sitting there, casually scattered on top of the tin like they weren't even special, it did something strange in my chest. Not jealousy exactly, more like quiet resentment mixed with wonder. We didn't attack the baskets like animals. That surprised me. I thought we'd tear in immediately, grab handfuls, argue over who got the last olive, post sneaky photos in the department group chat, but we didn't. Instead, we did this strange, almost polite ritual. Sajid opened the nut tin first, just the lid, pop. The smell rolled out like warm fog, salt, roast, faint oil, that addictive umami that makes your jaw clench in anticipation. We all leaned in at the same time, heads almost touching over the desk. Pistachios, he said, softer this time. Real ones, not the tiny broken ones they sell by weight at the dry fruit shop. I reached in. My fingers closed around one. The shell felt cool and smooth, already split halfway like it was offering itself to me. I didn't crack it. I just held it,
rolling it between thumb and forefinger, feeling the faint ridges. Rabia took a chocolate bar next. She didn't open it, just read the label out loud like it was a poem. 70% cocoa, sea salt, single origin Dominican Republic. She looked up. We're eating Dominican chocolate. Us. We laughed, quietly, almost guiltily. That first day, nobody ate more than one or two things. I took one pistachio and put it in my pocket like a talisman. Sajid ate 3 cashews, standing up, eyes closed like he was tasting wine. Rabia broke off a corner of the dark chocolate and let it melt slowly on her tongue before saying, "This is unfair. This is actually good." We left the baskets on the graveyard desk, untouched for the rest of the afternoon, like we were afraid if we ate too much too fast, they'd vanish, or worse, someone would come and take them away. The next morning, I came in early. The office was still dark, only the emergency lights on in the corridor. I turned on just my desk lamp, made tea in the pantry, normal Lipton, nothing fancy, and sat staring at the baskets. They were still there. I opened the popcorn bag, just to smell it. Sweet, buttery, salty. I didn't eat any. I just resealed it carefully. By 10 a.m., the others started drifting in. We didn't talk about the baskets at first. We talked about the usual things. Server downtime, a client who sent angry emails at 2 a.m., the new attendance policy that nobody understood. Normal life. But around 11:30, someone, I think it was Bilal, the quietest one, finally said, "So, are we rationing these or what?" We decided yes, rationing. 1 or 2 items per person per day. No hogging, no taking home, everything stays on the graveyard desk. If someone wanted something, they asked, politely, and we all nodded. It felt childish, but it also felt fair. Over the next few days, we turned it into a tiny routine. Monday afternoon, I ate my first pistachio, cracked it slowly. The shell split with a clean snap. The nut inside was bright green, perfect, salty. I chewed slowly, letting the flavor spread. It wasn't life-changing, but it was ours. Tuesday morning, Rabia opened the olives. We passed the jar around like it was communion wine, 1 olive each. The garlic was sharp, almost too much. We laughed when Sajid made a face. Wednesday, chocolate-dipped pretzel day. I took one. The chocolate cracked when I bit it. Salty, sweet, bitter, all at once. I closed my eyes for a second. Thursday, barfi. I unwrapped one piece carefully. It was soft, almost sticky, cardamom hitting the back of my throat. For a moment, I was 10 years old again, standing in my nanny's kitchen while she made it on Eid. Friday, trail mix. A small handful. The M&Ms were the best part. Bright, artificial, happy. Every single day, I walked past that table and felt something loosen in my chest. We had something. Not much, not expensive, not permanent, but it was ours. Nobody from marketing came back to take it away. Nobody from HR sent an email saying gifts must be reported. The VP hadn't discovered us yet. For those few days, maybe 5 or 6 at most, our little corner of the 7th floor felt less like a shadow and more like a real place. A place where nice things could happen, where people remembered we existed. I kept that first pistachio shell in my drawer, just the empty half shell. Every time I opened it to get a pen or a stapler, I saw it sitting there, small, cracked, proof that something good had landed here. I didn't know it wouldn't last. I didn't know the word pistachio was about to become a battle cry in my head. I just knew, for the first time in a very long time, that I wasn't completely invisible. And that tiny feeling, it was enough to make me smile at my screen for no reason at all.
It started innocently enough, or at least it felt that way at first. The baskets had been in our office for maybe 4 days, long enough that we'd stopped treating them like museum pieces and started actually enjoying them in small, controlled doses. The graveyard desk had become our unofficial treat station. Someone would walk by, take 1 cracker or 3 nuts, nod at whoever was nearby, and go back to work. No drama, no greed, just quiet gratitude. Then he appeared. Not dramatically, not with fanfare, just there. I was typing a response to an audit query, the kind of email that takes 40 minutes to write because every sentence has to be bulletproof, when I heard the door creak. Not the usual slow creak of Rabia coming back from tea or Sajid returning from the printer. This was quicker, more confident, like someone who knew the door would open for him without question. I glanced up. Vice President Michael Reynolds. We're supposed to call him Nichol when he's being approachable, but nobody ever does. It's always Sir or VP, or when he's out of earshot, just him. He was wearing his usual mid-December uniform, navy blazer over a light blue shirt, top button undone for that I'm relaxed but still important vibe, no tie because it's the holidays, expensive-looking loafers that clicked faintly on our cheap vinyl flooring. He didn't knock, he didn't say hello, he just walked in, eyes scanning the room like he was doing a casual inspection. His gaze landed on the graveyard desk almost immediately. "Oh," he said, casual, friendly, like we were old golf buddies. "Looks like you folks got some treats." Nobody answered right away. We were still processing the fact that he was here at all. Our floor isn't on his normal route. He usually stays on 12-15, where the views are better and the coffee is free. Sajid cleared his throat. "Yes, sir. Someone shared them with us." Michael nodded like that explained everything. He stepped closer to the desk, hands in his pockets, rocking slightly on his heels, the universal body language of someone who's about to help himself. He picked up the nut tin thirst, the same silver one we'd all leaned over like it was sacred 4 days earlier. He popped the lid, pop, that same satisfying sound, but now it felt different. Looked inside, gave a small, approving hum. "Nice mix," he said. Then, without asking, without even glancing at us for permission, he reached in and took a small handful. Cashews mostly, 1 or 2 almonds. He popped one cashew in his mouth right there, chewed slowly, nodded again. "Good roast on these." He didn't leave after that. He lingered, looked at the chocolate bars, picked one up, read the label like he was considering buying it, then set it down. Looked at the olives, smiled faintly. Then he reached for the crackers, took 3, held them like cards in a poker hand. "These look interesting. Mind if I—" He didn't finish the sentence. He just took them. Rabia opened her mouth. I saw it, but nothing came out. Sajid shifted in his chair. I stared at my screen, pretending to type, but my fingers weren't moving. Michael gave a little wave with the crackers still in his hand. "Thanks, team. Happy holidays." And he was gone. Door creak, footsteps fading, silence. We didn't speak for a full minute. Then Rabia whispered, "Did that just happen?" Sajid let out a breath he'd been holding. "Yeah, it did." I didn't say anything. I just looked at the nut tin. A few cashews were missing now. Just a few, but it felt like someone had reached into my pocket and taken cash. That was day 1 of what would become a pattern. He came back the next afternoon, same time, around 3:15 p.m., right after most people have had their post-lunch slump, but before the final push to 6 o'clock. He didn't bother with small talk this time, just walked in, straight to the desk, surveyed what was left. The popcorn was still mostly full. He opened the cello bag, took a handful, ate it standing there, kernels crunching loudly in the quiet office. "Caramel's good," he said to no one in particular. Then he took another handful. He left with maybe a quarter of the bag gone. Day 3, chocolate bars. He took one entire bar, the sea salt dark one I'd been saving for Friday afternoon when I knew the week would feel endless. He unwrapped a corner right there, broke off a piece, ate it, made an appreciative sound, then tucked the rest into his blazer pocket. "Saving this for later," he said with a grin, like we were co-conspirators. We weren't. Day 4, olives. He opened the jar, used his fingers, no spoon, no napkin, fished out 3 olives, ate them one by one, licking the garlic oil off his thumb. "These are fancy," he said. "Where'd these come from?" Nobody answered. He didn't seem to expect one. He took the jar with him when he left. Not the whole thing, just carried it out like he was borrowing it. We never saw it again. By day 5, I started keeping count in my head. Cashews, 8 missing, almonds, 5 to 6, crackers, packet half gone, popcorn, down to less than half, chocolate, 2 bars completely taken, 1 partially eaten, olives, gone, trail mix, untouched so far, but I knew it was only a matter of time. He never came in the morning.
Always afternoon, always when most of us were deep in work and least likely to confront him. Always casual, always smiling, always acting like this was normal, like our little shared basket was an extension of the company kitchen, open to executives. I started noticing other things. He never did this to marketing. I walked past their floor once to drop off a report. Their baskets were still overflowing, guarded by people who laughed and chatted with him when he stopped by. He took nothing from them. He complimented their display, said, "Looks like you've got the good stuff," and left empty-handed. Finance? Same. Sales? Same. They got nods, jokes, happy holidays wishes. We got hands in our tin. I really remembered the town hall meeting in October. He'd stood at the front of the auditorium, PowerPoint slides glowing behind him, talking about fiscal responsibility and team effort and tight margins this quarter. Someone from our floor, not me, someone braver, had asked about salary adjustments. Not raises, just cost of living adjustments. Inflation was eating us alive. Michael had smiled that same friendly smile. "We're reviewing all compensation packages carefully," he'd said, "but we have to balance growth investments with employee support. It's a team decision." Translation? No. He makes, I've seen the org chart approximations people whisper about, at least 5 times my salary, probably more when you count bonuses and stock. He has a company car, he travels business class, he has a house in the gated community on the other side of the city, and yet he was here, in our windowless corner, taking handfuls of nuts we hadn't even paid for. It wasn't the nuts themselves, it was the principle. We had so little, he had so much, and still he took. I started staying late some days, not to work, just to see if he'd come when fewer people were around. He did, twice. Once he took the last of the pretzels, once he took the cinnamon honey jar and said, "This'll be great on toast tomorrow." He never brought anything back, never replaced what he took, never said thank you like he meant it. He just smiled, took, left, like it was nothing, like we were nothing.
By the second week of December, only one basket remained intact. The first one, the wicker beauty Aisha had dropped off, was now basically a husk, empty tin rattling around inside like a lonely marble, crumpled tissue paper, a few stray cracker crumbs that nobody bothered to sweep up anymore. The cardboard box wasn't much better, popcorn reduced to dust at the bottom, pretzels long gone, trail mix picked over until only broken peanut halves and sad raisins remained. We'd stopped pretending to ration. Survival mode had kicked in. Eat what you can before he shows up. But the second basket, the one nobody had touched yet, sat like a small miracle on the far corner of the graveyard desk. It was still fully wrapped, thick, clear cellophane, gold ribbon tied in a perfect bow, slightly crushed on one side from transport, but still elegant. A little rectangular card taped to the top that read, "Happy Holidays and thank you for your partnership. With regards, Horizon Logistics." We hadn't even peeled the tape. It felt sacred, untouched, a promise that maybe, just maybe, we could have one complete experience without interruption. Every morning I came in and checked it first. Not obviously, just a quick glance while hanging my bag or turning on my monitor. Still there. Still sealed, still ours. I had daydreamed about opening it together, maybe Friday afternoon, 4:30 p.m., when the week was almost over and people felt looser. We'd cut the ribbon with Rabia's fancy scissors, the red-handled ones she kept for special printouts, pull back the cellophane slowly so it crackled like wrapping paper on Eid morning, divide everything fairly. I pictured myself taking the pistachios if they were there. Not because I loved them, but because they felt like the trophy item, the thing that said, "You deserve nice." That fantasy lasted exactly 11 days. Then Thursday happened. It was one of those gray Punjab December afternoons, sky heavy, air cold enough that the office windows fogged at the edges, but not cold enough for the heating to kick in properly. The kind of day where fluorescent lights feel extra harsh and everyone's shoulders are hunched against an invisible draft. I was deep in a reconciliation spreadsheet, numbers blurring after 3 hours of staring, when the door opened. No knock, no pause, just the quick creak and then him. Michael Reynolds, VP.
Navy blazer again, sleeves pushed up to show the expensive watch that probably cost more than my annual rent, hair perfectly combed even at 3:40 p.m. He looked like he'd just stepped out of a meeting where people nodded at everything he said. His eyes went straight to the desk, not to us, not to say hello, just to the remaining items. He scanned the wreckage of basket 1, gave a small, disappointed, then landed on the unopened one. His face changed. Not dramatically, just a lift at the corners of the mouth, a slight narrowing of the eyes like a cat spotting movement. Interest, hunger, entitlement. "Well, well," he said, voice light, almost playful. "What do we have here? Still wrapped? You guys haven't opened this one yet?" Nobody answered. Rabia's fingers froze on her keyboard. Sajid looked at his screen like it had suddenly become the most fascinating thing on earth. I felt heat climb up my neck. Not embarrassment exactly, something hotter, angrier. He didn't wait for permission. Of course he didn't. He stepped forward, reached out with both hands and lifted the basket like it belonged to him. The cellophane crinkled loudly in the silence, sharp, accusing pops as the wrap shifted. He turned it slightly, inspecting it from different angles like he was appraising jewelry in a store. "Horizon Logistics," he read off the card, nodding approvingly. "Good client. They always send decent stuff." Then, without hesitation, without even a glance in our direction, he hooked one finger under the edge of the ribbon and pulled. The bow unraveled in one smooth motion. Red satin slid away and fell to the desk like shed blood. He didn't bother saving it. He tore at the cellophane next. Not carefully, not neatly. He ripped it open with quick, impatient jerks, plastic crackling and tearing like cheap packaging. Shreds fluttered down onto the keyboard nearest to him, mine. I watched them land on the F5 key and felt something twist hard in my stomach. The basket was exposed now. Inside, more nuts. Another big tin, this one labeled Premium Pistachios, Roasted and Salted. Dark chocolate truffles in gold foil, a packet of artisanal flatbreads, small jars of fig jam and chili honey, dried mango slices, a few small shortbread rounds, and right on top, almost arranged for display, that pistachio tin, larger than the previous one, brighter label, more nuts visible through the clear plastic window on the lid. They looked plump, perfect, expensive. Michael's hand went straight for it. He lifted the tin out like he'd been waiting for this moment his whole life, held it up to the light for a second, admiring, then popped the lid. Pop. That same sound we'd all loved the first time, but now it felt violent. He looked inside, smiled, a real smile this time, not the polite one. "Pistachios," he said, almost to himself. "The good ones." He reached in, took a generous handful, maybe 10, 12 nuts. Shells clacked together in his palm. He didn't sit down, didn't offer any to us, just stood there in the middle of our small office in his expensive blazer and started eating. Crack, crunch, crack, crunch. The sound was loud in the quiet room. Each shell split under his fingers, fragments falling on the carpet we weren't allowed to vacuum ourselves, facilities only did it twice a week. Green nuts disappeared into his mouth one after another. He chewed slowly, savoring, eyes half closed like he was tasting fine wine. Then he spoke, mouth still half full but clear enough. "I love the rich man's nut." He laughed, a short, satisfied chuckle like it was the cleverest thing anyone had ever said. Rich man's nut. He said it casually, fondly, like a nickname between friends. But he was the rich man. He made easily 5 times what I took home after taxes, probably 6 or 7 when bonuses hit. He had stock options I couldn't even calculate, a driver who waited outside in a black SUV with tinted windows, a house big enough that he probably had a room just for gift wrapping during the holidays. And here he was, standing in our cramped, underlit corner, calling pistachios the rich man's nut, while he ate our last untouched gift. I felt it then, the snap. Not loud, not visible, but inside me something broke cleanly in half. Rabia made a tiny sound, half gasp, half swallow. Sajid's chair creaked as he shifted, but he didn't look up. Nobody spoke. We just sat there, frozen in our cubicles, while he finished the handful. He licked salt off his thumb, looked at the tin again, seemed to consider taking more, then, almost as an afterthought, he set the open tin back into the basket. "These are excellent," he said, wiping his hands on a tissue he pulled from his pocket. He carried tissues, of course he did. He gave that little wave again, 2 fingers, casual, and walked out. Door creak, footsteps fading, silence thicker than before. The shredded cellophane still lay on my desk like confetti from a party I wasn't invited to. The pistachio tin sat there, lid off, half a dozen shells scattered around it, the nuts inside now looking vulnerable, diminished. I stared at it for a long time. Nobody moved to clean up. Nobody touched the basket. We just existed in the aftermath. My hands were shaking slightly, not from cold, from rage, from the absolute clarity of it all. He hadn't just taken a snack. He had opened our last sealed hope. He had chosen the single most luxurious item. He had eaten it in front of us. He had named it after himself. And then he had left the ruins for us to deal with. That moment, that exact 30-second performance changed everything. Because up until then, I could pretend it was harmless. Annoying, yes. Unfair, definitely, but survivable. After that, no, this could not continue. I looked at the open tin, at the bright green nuts waiting inside, and for the first time I thought, very clearly, very coldly, if he loves the rich man's nuts, he's not getting another one. Not a single one more.
He said it so casually. I love the rich man's nut. 5 words, maybe 6 if you count the contraction, set with a little half laugh at the end, like he was sharing an inside joke with the room, like we were all supposed to chuckle along, like it was charming. It wasn't charming. It landed like a slap, not loud, not violent, but the kind of slap that leaves your cheek burning for hours even though there's no visible mark. I was still staring at the shredded cellophane on my desk when the words finished echoing. The office was dead quiet after the door creaked shut behind him. No one coughed, no one shifted papers, no keyboards clicked, just the low hum of the air conditioner and the faint ticking of the wall clock that's been 5 minutes fast since I started here. I love the rich man's nut. I heard it again in my head, slower this time, each syllable separated. Rich man's nut. He said rich man's nut the way some people say comfort food or guilty pleasure, affectionate, possessive, proud, as if pistachios were a cute little luxury he was allowed to claim, as if they belonged to people like him by birthright. But he was the rich man, not a rich man, the rich man, the one standing in our office, the one who just ripped open our last sealed basket, the one who ate our pistachios with his manicured fingers, the one who makes, I've done the math in my head so many times it's automatic now, at minimum 5 times my monthly take-home. Let's break it down again because my brain won't stop doing it. My basic salary, after tax, after PF deduction, after the stupid group insurance cut, is 78,000 PKR net. His base salary, publicly posted ranges for VP level in our industry, plus what people whisper in the tea room, 4 to 6 lakh base. Bonuses, easily another 3 to 6 lakh yearly. Performance plus company profit share. Stock options or RSUs, another layer most of us can't even calculate. Car allowance plus fuel plus driver, 80 to 120K per month equivalent. Housing allowance or company-provided accommodation in DHA, Oscary, or gated society, value easily 150 to 250K monthly. Medical for family, international travel, conference budgets, club memberships, phone or laptop upgrades every year. Even conservatively, very conservatively, he clears 25 to 30 lakh per year after everything. I clear maybe 9.5 to 10 lakh if I'm lucky with overtime and festival bonus. That's 6 times, sometimes 7. And he stood there, in shoes that cost more than my entire monthly rent, calling pistachios the rich man's nut, while eating the only nice thing that had ever landed on our floor without us begging for it. I felt it settle in my stomach like cold lead. Not just anger, something deeper.
Humiliation mixed with fury, mixed with exhaustion. Because it wasn't only about the nuts, it was about every single time someone higher up reminded us, usually without saying it out loud, that we were in a different category. Remember the town hall in October? The big screen behind him showed colorful charts, revenue up 18%, EBITDA healthy, strong pipeline for FY26. Everyone clapped politely. Then someone from our floor, I think it was Imran from Audit, raised his hand during Q&A. Sir, with inflation running at 12 to 15% this year, any discussion on cost of living adjustment or salary revision for support functions? Michael smiled, that same friendly, approachable smile he uses when he wants to sound reasonable. We're reviewing compensation holistically, he said, but we have to balance employee support with sustainable growth. We're all in this together. It's a team effort. No commitment, no timeline, no number. The slide changed, discussion moved to exciting new client wins. Everyone clapped again. Imran sat down. I watched his shoulders drop. Later in the corridor, people whispered, "They'll give marketing and sales their increments. We'll get team effort and a 5% hike if we're lucky." We got 4.8% that year. Inflation was 13.4%. So when he said rich man's nut, it wasn't funny. It was a reminder. These nuts, these expensive, imported, salted pistachios, are for rich men. You're not rich men. You're the people who keep the numbers clean so rich men can stay rich. I stared at the open tin he'd left behind. Half a dozen empty shells scattered on the desk like evidence. The remaining nuts looked smaller somehow, less shiny, like they'd been tainted. I reached out and picked one up, not to eat, just to hold. The shell was still warm from his hand. That made it worse. His fingerprints were probably still on it, his salt, his entitlement. I cracked it anyway. Snap. The green nut inside looked perfect, bright, expensive. I put it in my mouth, but didn't chew right away. I just let it sit on my tongue, tasting the salt he'd left behind. I love the rich man's nut. The phrase kept looping, all afternoon, while I fixed formulas in Excel, while Rabia printed the compliance report, while Sajid went to make tea and came back with only 2 cups because the machine ran out of milk again. Every few minutes it came back. Rich man's nut. Rich man's nut. Rich man's nut. By 5 p.m., it wasn't just words anymore. It was a category, a wall, a rule. Rich men get pistachios. Rich men get raises. Rich men get to walk into any office and take what they want. The rest of us get to watch and clean up the shells. I started imagining him at home that evening, sitting in his big living room, probably leather sofas, probably 65-inch OLED TV, probably underfloor heating because December in Lahore can get chilly even for rich people. He'd open his fridge, double door, probably Samsung or LG with the screen on the front, take out some artisanal bread, spread the cinnamon honey he stole last week, maybe add a few more pistachios from some other basket he took from another floor. He'd eat it all while scrolling LinkedIn or watching Netflix on 4K. No guilt, no second thought. Meanwhile, I'd go home to my one-room apartment in People's Colony, heat doll on a single gas burner because the cylinder is running low and refill is $3,200 now, eat with a spoon because the forks are in the sink. Think about the $7,500 I still owe on my sister's tuition. Rich man's nut. The phrase wouldn't leave my head. It followed me into the lift, down the stairs when the lift was full, onto the street where the cold wind hit my face and made my eyes water, or maybe that wasn't just the wind. It sat with me on the bus ride home, squeezed between a woman carrying 3 plastic bags and a boy playing PUBG on his phone with the volume up. Rich man's nut. By the time I unlocked my door, took off my dupatta, kicked off my shoes, it had become something else entirely. Not just a nickname for pistachios, a declaration. This is mine because I'm rich. This is yours to give because you're not. And that night, lying on my thin mattress, listening to the neighbor's TV through the wall, I decided something very simple. If pistachios were the rich man's nut, then the rich man wasn't getting any more of them. Not from our basket, not from our floor, not from us, ever again.
I didn't decide all at once. It wasn't like in movies where the music swells, the camera zooms in on determined eyes, and the character says, "No more," in a strong, clear voice. It was quieter than that, messier, slower, like a crack spreading through glass. You hear the first tiny snap, then another, then suddenly the whole thing is webbed and about to shatter. That Thursday evening after he left, with pistachio salt still on his fingers, I stayed at my desk longer than usual. The office was emptying, lights clicking off in other cubicles, the janitor's trolley rattling down the corridor, Rabia packing her lunchbox, Saeed muttering about the server being down again. Normal end-of-day sounds. I didn't move. I kept staring at the open pistachio tin he'd left behind, lid crooked, a few shell fragments stuck to the rim, the remaining nuts looking smaller and more exposed under the fluorescent light. Every few minutes, one phrase would surface again, uninvited, "I love the rich man's nut." And every time it did, something inside me tightened a little more. Not dramatic tightness, not tears or shouting, just a slow, steady clench, like someone was slowly turning a screw in my chest. I replayed the whole scene for the 20th time that day. Him walking in, eyes lighting up when he saw the sealed basket, ripping the cellophane, pulling out the tin like it was his Christmas present, cracking the nuts, chewing, smiling, saying those words, leaving. Over and over. Each replay made the screw turn another quarter inch. By 6:15 p.m., most people were gone. The AC clicked to a lower setting, that nighttime hum that makes the silence feel heavier. I was alone with the basket and the phrase, "Rich man's nut." I hate that I can still hear his voice saying it exactly the way he did. Light, amused, completely unaware of how it sounded to the people he was stealing from. Because that was the worst part. He didn't even know he was stealing. In his mind, he was just enjoying a perk, being friendly, sharing the holiday spirit, being the approachable VP who drops by lower floors and makes small talk. But to us, it was theft. Small theft, petty theft, the kind nobody reports because who's going to believe that a vice president is stealing handfuls of nuts from a back office team? And even if someone did believe it, what would happen? A quiet word? A "let's be mindful" email? Nothing. Because he's the rich man, and rich men don't steal, they borrow, they sample, they appreciate, they enjoy. The rest of us just provide. I opened the drawer where I'd hidden the Ziploc with the last few pistachios I'd saved earlier in the week. 5 nuts, 5 green kernels in their half shells. I took one out, held it, rolled it between my fingers. I didn't eat it, I just looked at it and thought, this is the most expensive thing I've eaten in months. Probably the most expensive thing I'll eat until next December. And he took 10 of them in 30 seconds. 10, while I rationed one every other day. The math hit again, the same math I'd done 100 times. His monthly take-home, conservative estimate, 3.5 to 4 lakh PKR after tax. Mine, 78,000 PKR. One of his casual, "I loved the rich man's nut" handfuls cost more than I spend on groceries in a week. And he said it like a joke, like we were in on it. We weren't. I put the pistachio back in the bag, zipped it shut, put it in my purse. Then I stood up, walked to the graveyard desk, picked up the open tin, looked inside, maybe 40 to 50 nuts left. Enough for him to come back tomorrow and take another handful, and the day after, and the day after that, until they were gone. Until our last basket was as empty and violated as the first one. I felt it then, the shift. Not anger anymore. Anger had been simmering for days. This was colder. Resolution. Decision. Enough. This cannot continue. Not because the nuts are so precious. They're not. I don't even like them that much. Not because I'm starving. I'm not. but because letting him keep taking is letting him keep winning. Every nut he eats is another tiny proof that the rules don't apply to him. Every time he walks out smiling, it's another reminder that we're invisible until he needs something to snack on. I can't stop him from being rich. I can't stop him from making 5 times my salary. I can't stop him from never fighting for our raises. I can't stop him from having a driver and a big house and pistachios whenever he wants. But I can stop him from eating these pistachios. These ones. The ones that finally landed on our floor. The ones we guarded, rationed, smiled over. Those ones are ours. And if the only way to keep them from him is to eat them myself, even if I have to force them down, even if my stomach rebels, even if I don't enjoy a single one, then that's what I'll do. I'll eat every last pistachio. Every single one. The thought felt strange at first, almost childish, petty, silly, but then it felt powerful, because it was something I could control. He walks in tomorrow, basket empty, tin gone. No more rich man's nuts for the rich man. He'll blink, he'll look confused, maybe he'll ask, "What happened to the pistachios?" And I'll just shrug, or smile, or say nothing, but inside I'll know. I have them, all of them, inside me. He can't have any more. I carried the tin back to my desk, hid it in my bottom drawer under old folders, took my bag, turned off the monitor, walked out. The corridor was dark except for emergency lights. Cold air from the stairwell hit my face. I felt calm, not happy, not triumphant yet, just calm, like I'd finally chosen a side in a war nobody else knew was being fought. On the bus ride home, squeezed between a sleeping man and a woman talking loudly on her phone, the phrase came back one more time. I love the rich man's nut. I didn't flinch this time. I answered it silently. So do I, apparently, because tomorrow I'm going to eat them all, and you're not getting a single one. I didn't sleep much that night. The bus dropped me near my street around 7:40 p.m. The air was sharp, proper December cold that makes your nose run and your fingers ache. Street lights flickered like they always do in this part of Faisalabad. Half the bulbs are out, the other half buzzing like trapped insects. I walked the last 800 meters fast, head down, dupatta pulled tight, replaying the afternoon in my head on loop. I love the rich man's nut. Crack, crunch, smile, wave, gone. By the time I unlocked the door, kicked off my chopples, and dropped my bag on the plastic chair, the plan wasn't just an angry thought anymore. It was becoming real. I heated leftover dal on the single burner, gas hissing low because the cylinder was down to a quarter, made 2 rotis, ate standing at the small counter because sitting felt too passive. While I chewed, I kept looking at the Ziploc bag I'd brought home, the 5 saved pistachios from earlier in the week. They sat there on the counter like tiny green soldiers waiting for orders. I finished eating, washed the plate, wiped the counter, then sat on the bed with the lights off except the small tube light above the mirror. I took the Ziploc out again, opened it, took 1 pistachio, cracked it slowly, almost quieter than he had, almost reverently, ate it. Salty, crunchy, a little oily, not bad, not amazing, just there. I ate the second one the same way. Third, fourth, fifth. All gone in under 2 minutes. My stomach felt a bit full already, not uncomfortable, just aware. 5 nuts. That was nothing compared to what I was planning. I lay back on the mattress, staring at the ceiling cracks that look like a map of rivers when you squint. How many were left in the tin? I tried to count from memory. When he took his handful, there were probably 60 to 70 in the big new tin. He ate maybe 10 to 12, left approximately 50, maybe 45 to 55. Let's say 50 to be safe. 50 pistachios. If I ate them all tomorrow, all at once or over the day, how would that feel?
I've never eaten more than maybe 15 to 20 nuts of any kind in one sitting. My mother used to say too many almonds give you heat, too many cashews make your throat itch. Pistachios, I had no idea. But I wasn't doing this for taste, I was doing it for absence. For the moment he walks in, looks at the graveyard desk, sees nothing but crumpled cellophane and an empty tin, and feels something. Confusion? Annoyance? A tiny pinch of loss? That would be enough. I started planning. First, timing. He usually comes between 2:30 and 4 p.m. Never before lunch, never after 5. He likes the mid-afternoon dip when people are sluggish and less likely to challenge him. So I had morning and early afternoon. Plan A, eat them all before he arrives. Plan B, if I can't finish in time, hide the tins somewhere he won't look. My drawer? Under my desk. In the pantry behind the old tea boxes. Plan C, if he comes early, act normal. Let him see the empty space. Let him ask. Let him leave disappointed. I liked Plan A best. Eat them. All of them. Before he even gets the chance. How to do it without anyone noticing? Rabia and Sajid would see. They always notice when someone eats from the basket. We've been sharing for 2 weeks like it's a group project. I'd have to be subtle. Eat slowly, one at a time. Pretend I'm working. Or, better, take the tin to the restroom corridor, the one with the broken light nobody uses. Eat there. Quick handfuls, shells in my pocket until I can throw them in the big bin near the lift. No, too suspicious if someone sees me disappearing with the tin. Better, keep the tin in my bottom drawer. Every 20 to 30 minutes, open the drawer casually, like looking for a file, take 4 or 5 nuts, crack and eat under the desk while typing. Swallow shells? No, too risky. Might choke or cut my mouth. Pocket the shells. Empty pockets in the ladies' room bin later. Yes. Water. I'd need water. Lots of it. Nuts are dry. Salt makes you thirsty. My small bottle, 500 milliliters, wouldn't be enough. Tomorrow morning, stop at the canteen on the ground floor. Buy 2 1.5-liter bottles. Say it's for the whole day because throat is dry from the cold. Keep one on my desk, one in the bag. If stomach hurts, and it probably will, I can sip slowly, walk around the floor pretending to stretch, breathe through it. What if colleagues ask why I'm eating so many? Tell them the truth. Half-truth, anyway. VP took so many already, I figured I'd finish them before he comes back. They'd understand. Rabia would probably laugh. Sajid would nod seriously and say, good call. They're tired of it too. They just haven't said it out loud yet. Do I tell them the full plan? No, not yet. If they know, they might try to help. Take some themselves, share the burden. I don't want sharing. I want ownership. I want to be the one full of rich man's nuts while he gets 0. Petty? Yes, very. Do I care? No, not tonight. I stood up, walked to the tiny kitchen corner, filled a glass of water from the filter, drank it slowly, thought about tomorrow's clothes, loose camise, deep pockets for shells, dupatta to hide my mouth if needed while chewing. Set alarm for 6:15 a.m., early so I can reach office by 8 a.m. before anyone else, before the cleaning staff moves things. I'd be the first one there. Take the tin from the drawer where I left it, move it to my desk drawer. Start eating at 8:30. Slow at first, then faster as the morning goes. By 1 p.m., done. Or close to done. If any left, finish by 2:15, before he comes. Perfect. I lay back down. The phrase came again, quieter this time. I love the rich man's nut. I smiled into the dark. So do I now. I love them enough to eat 50 of them in one day. I love them enough to make myself sick with them. I love them enough to make sure you never taste another one from our basket. I closed my eyes. Stomach still feeling the 5 from earlier. Tomorrow it would feel much more. And that thought, strange, uncomfortable, defiant, was the last one before I finally fell asleep.
I woke up before the alarm. 5:58 a.m. The room was still dark except for the faint orange streetlight leaking through the thin curtain. My mouth felt dry. leftover salt from the 5 nuts the night before. Stomach empty, but already anticipating what was coming. I didn't feel nervous, not excited either, just committed. Showered quickly, cold water because the geyser takes too long in winter, put on the loose navy camise with the deepest pockets I own, wrapped the dupatta so it could double as a shield if needed, packed the 2 1.5-liter water bottles I'd bought yesterday evening from the corner shop. They charged 80 rupees each, robbery, but worth it. Slipped the Ziploc of empty shells from last night into the side pocket, reminder of what I'd already started. Bus was half empty at 6:45. I sat near the back, bottles between my feet, staring out at the foggy streets of Faisalabad waking up. Rickshaws honking, tea stalls lighting their stoves, school children in sweaters running behind vans. Normal Thursday, except for me. Reached office building at 7:52 a.m. Security guard nodded sleepily. Lift empty. 7th floor corridor silent except for the hum of the vending machine that's been broken for 6 months. Our office door was unlocked. Cleaning staff must have come already. Lights off. I switched on only my desk lamp. Didn't want the full fluorescence yet. It would feel too exposed. Went straight to the bottom drawer. There it was, the pistachio tin. Lid still slightly askew from yesterday, a faint ring of salt on the rim where his fingers had been. I lifted it carefully. Heavier than I remembered. Opened it just a crack to confirm. Yes, still 45 to 55 nuts left. Green gems under the cheap office light. Moved it to my right bottom drawer, the one with the fake files on top for camouflage. Closed the drawer softly, sat down. Booted the computer. Waited. 8:03 a.m. First sip of water. Cold. Steadying. 8:15 a.m. Opened the drawer again. Took 4 nuts, closed drawer, cradled them in my left hand under the desk. First crack. Snap. Louder than I expected in the quiet room. I froze. Listened. No footsteps. No one here yet. Peeled the shell apart. Green nut, perfect. Salt crystals catching the lamplight. Into my mouth. Chewed slowly. Salt hit first. Sharp, almost too much on an empty stomach. Then the buttery richness. Crunch. Swallow. Second nut. Same. Third. Fourth. Already my mouth felt coated, a little dry at the corners. I sipped water. Small sip. Didn't want to finish the bottle too fast. 8:28 a.m. Rabia arrived. "Morning," she said, yawning. "Morning." She glanced at the graveyard desk, saw the empty space where the second basket used to be. "He took the last one yesterday, didn't he?" I nodded. "Yeah. Opened it right in front of us." She sighed. "Typical." She didn't ask about the pistachios specifically. Good. I didn't want to lie yet. 8:45 a.m., Sajid came in. Same routine, same sigh when he saw the desk. I waited until they were both settled. Rabia on a call with compliance, Sajid buried in emails, then opened the drawer again. This time, 6 nuts. Crack, 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 crack. I cracked them all at once under the desk, shells into my left pocket, nuts into my right palm. Ate them one by one while pretending to read an Excel sheet, so my hands looked busy. By 10 a.m., I'd eaten 28 to 30 nuts, pocket bulging with shells. I excused myself to the ladies' room, walked the long corridor to the less used one, the one with the flickering light, locked myself in a stall, emptied the pocket into the bin, shells clattering softly, washed hands, looked at myself in the mirror. Face normal. No one could tell. Back to desk. Water bottle down to 3/4. Stomach now definitely full. Not painful, just heavy, like I'd eaten a big bowl of dry roasted something. Continued. 10:30 a.m. Another batch. 8 nuts. Chewing slower now. Jaw protesting more. Salt starting to feel overwhelming. Tongue slightly numb at the edges. I switched to sipping water after every 2 nuts instead of every 4. Rabia walked past my desk to get tea. "You okay? You're drinking a lot today." "Throat dry from the heater," I lied. She nodded, didn't push. 11:05 a.m., around 42 nuts total. The tin was noticeably lighter when I checked, maybe 10 to 12 left. Stomach felt stretched.
Not sick yet, just uncomfortably packed, like after overeating at a wedding, but without the gravy to soften it. I leaned back in the chair, breathed slowly through my nose, closed my eyes for 10 seconds. Thought of him, probably in his office right now, maybe on a call, maybe eating something expensive from the executive pantry, maybe thinking about coming down later for a quick snack. No, not today. I sat up, opened the drawer, took the rest. 9 nuts left. Crack, crack, crack. I ate them all standing up, pretended to stretch my legs, walked to the window, back to desk, eating the whole time. Last one. Shell in pocket. Tin empty. I stared at it. Empty silver bottom, a few stray salt grains. Nothing else. Done. 11:42 a.m. I had eaten every pistachio from the last basket. All of them. My stomach felt wrong, bloated, heavy, a dull pressure under my ribs, mouth coated in salt and oil, jaw sore like I'd been chewing gum for hours. But I felt something else, too. Control. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt like I had taken something back. I hid the empty tin under a stack of old reports in the drawer, drank half a bottle of water in one go, leaned my head on my hand, waited for the afternoon, waited for him to come. He would come. He always did. And when he did, nothing. No rich man's nuts. Just an empty space, and me full of them. By 11:42 a.m., the tin from the unopened basket was empty. But I wasn't done. Because after he ripped into our last basket yesterday, after he took his rich man's handful and left the tin half full on the desk like trash, the rest of the department had quietly moved the remaining pistachios, the stragglers from the first basket, the few I'd hidden, the emergency pouch someone had tucked behind the printer, into one place. 4 sleeves. That's what we called them. Not tins anymore, but the long resealable plastic pouches the premium nuts sometimes came in. Each sleeve held about 200 to 250 grams, maybe 60 to 80 nuts depending on size. 4 of them had accumulated over the 2 weeks of rationing, one almost full from the original shared basket, one half full I'd been protecting, one small emergency pouch Rabia had brought back from her own desk stash, and the big one from yesterday's massacre that still had 40 plus left before I started. 4 sleeves. Roughly 250 to 300 nuts in total across them all. I had eaten maybe 50 to 55 from the main tin by late morning. That left a lot. My stomach already felt like it had swallowed a small brick, heavy, warm, pressing outward against my ribs. Salt coated every surface inside my mouth. My tongue felt swollen and numb at the edges. Jaw ached like I'd been grinding teeth all night. But the tin was empty and the pouches were still there, hidden now in my drawer along with the empty tin. I couldn't stop. Not halfway. Not when the goal was total absence. I opened the drawer again at 12:05 p.m. First sleeve, the big one from yesterday. I tore it open under the desk, quiet rip, muffled by my dupatta, took a handful, 8 nuts. Crack, crack, crack. Chewed faster now. No savoring, just mechanical. Swallow, sip water, repeat. Rabia was on lunch break. Sajid stepped out to pray. Perfect window. 12:20 p.m. First sleeve, gone. Stomach lurched, a slow, rolling wave of pressure. I pressed my palm against my lower ribs, breathed shallow, felt like I swallowed dry cement. Thirst was constant now, bottle number 1 down to 1/3. I stood up slowly, pretended to stretch, walked to the window, stared at the gray sky outside. Back to desk, sat carefully. Any sudden movement sent a dull ache spreading. Second sleeve, 12:35 p.m. Smaller handfuls now, 6 at a time, because chewing 8 was starting to hurt the jaw muscles. Salt burned the back of my throat. Nuts felt bigger somehow, harder to swallow without water chasers. I was drinking every 2-3 nuts now. Bottle number 1 empty, started bottle number 2. Colleague from next cubicle walked past. "You look tired today. Everything okay?" "Just headache," I said. "Too much screen." She nodded, left. I waited 30 seconds, opened drawer, another 6. Crack, chew, swallow. By 1:15 p.m., second sleeve finished. Total nuts eaten, approximately 150 to 150. Stomach no longer felt full, it felt distended, like a balloon slowly inflating under my skin. Every breath pushed against it. A faint nausea hovered at the back of my throat. Not vomiting level yet, but warning level. Burps kept trying to rise. I swallowed them down, cheeks burning. I got up, walked to the ladies' room again, emptied another pocketful of shells. They were starting to smell faintly of salt and sweat. Splashed cold water on my face, looked in the mirror. Eyes red-rimmed, skin a little pale, lips cracked from salt. I whispered to my reflection, "Just 2 more sleeves. You've done half. Finish it." Back to desk at 1:35 p.m. Third sleeve, the half-full one I'd been saving. This one was harder. Nuts felt drier, or maybe my mouth was too dry despite the water. Chewing took longer. Jaw clicked on every 5th crack. Stomach cramps started. Small, sharp twinges every time I swallowed a handful. 1:50 p.m., I stopped for 5 minutes. Head on desk, breathed through my nose, sipped water so slowly it barely wet my lips. Sajid came back from lunch. "You didn't eat?" he asked. "Not hungry," I lied. He shrugged, went back to work. 2:05 p.m. Third sleeve almost gone. I was eating 4 at a time now, smallest possible units to keep moving forward. Swallow, cramp, sip, repeat. Nausea stronger, a sour wave rising every few minutes. I pressed my lips together, forced it back down. By 2:25 p.m., third sleeve empty. 1 left. The emergency pouch, smallest but still 50 to 60 nuts. I could feel sweat on my lower back, not from heat, from effort, shirt sticking, hands shaky when I opened the last pouch. 2:30 p.m. He could walk in any minute. I had to hurry. Handfuls of 5 now, forcing them. Crack, chew fast, swallow whole almost. Water chug. Stomach felt like it was going to split. Pressure everywhere, ribs, back, sides. Breathing shallow because deep breaths hurt. Nausea constant. I tasted bile twice, swallowed it down. 2:45 p.m. Last 15 nuts. I stood up, couldn't sit anymore, paced slowly behind my desk, eating while pretending to look at a notice board. Crack, chew, swallow. Every nut felt heavier than the last. Last 5. I sat down hard, head spinning a little. Crack, chew, swallow. Crack, chew, swallow. Crack, chew, swallow. Crack, chew, swallow. Last one. I held it in my palm for a second. Green, perfect, mocking. Then cracked it, ate it, swallowed. Pouch empty. All 4 sleeves gone. Basket officially empty. Nothing left on the graveyard desk but crumpled wrappers, stray salt grains, and the ghost of cellophane. I leaned forward, elbows on desk, forehead on arms. Body screaming, stomach bloated to the point I could feel my waistband digging in like wire. Every movement sent ripples of pressure, nausea rolling in waves. I breathed through my mouth, slow and controlled, fighting the urge to run to the bathroom and let it all come up. Jaw throbbed, throat raw, tongue felt like sandpaper, headache starting behind my eyes, salt dehydration creeping in even with 2 liters of water. I drank the last of bottle number 2, sat still, waited. 2:58 p.m. He hadn't come yet, but he would, and when he did, nothing. No nuts, no handfuls, no rich man's nut comment, just empty space and me, sitting here stuffed to the point of misery with every pistachio he would have taken. My pride wasn't shining yet. It was buried under layers of discomfort, nausea, and salt, but it was there, intact, unbroken. I closed my eyes, breathed, and waited.
By 3:15 p.m., the office felt like it was underwater. Sounds were muffled, keyboards typing far away, Rabia's soft phone conversation, the low drone of the AC. My own heartbeat was louder than any of it. Every pulse sent a fresh wave of pressure through my bloated stomach. I sat very still, hands flat on the desk, breathing in short, careful pulls so I wouldn't jostle anything inside. The graveyard desk was barren. No wicker basket, no cardboard box, no nut tins, no cracker packets, no chocolate wrappers. Just a few stray crumbs, a torn piece of gold ribbon from yesterday, and the faint, salty smell that still clung to the air. Empty. Completely empty. I had done it. 4 sleeves, every last pistachio, were inside me. The body was paying the price. Stomach felt like an overfilled water balloon, stretched tight, sloshing with every tiny shift. Sharp cramps came in waves, starting low and rising to just under my ribs. Nausea sat heavy in my throat like wet cotton. I swallowed constantly to keep it down. Jaw throbbed from hours of cracking shells. Tongue raw, lips cracked, a metallic taste from too much salt. Headache pulsed behind my eyes. Dehydration fighting the 3 liters of water I'd forced down. Sweat cooled on my back, even though the room wasn't hot. I didn't dare stand up fully. Walking to the bathroom earlier had been torture. Each step sent everything shifting, pressing, threatening to come back up. So I stayed seated, leaned forward slightly, forehead almost touching the monitor. Pretended to work, but I wasn't working. I was waiting. Waiting for the door to creak. Waiting for him. He always came between 3 and 4 on Thursdays, routine as clockwork. He'd walk in, scan the desk, smile that small, expectant smile, reach for whatever was left. Today, nothing would be left. I kept replaying it in my head. Not the eating, but the moment he would arrive. He steps in, eyes go to the desk, smile falters for half a second, brows knit. He looks closer, maybe even steps nearer. Sees the crumbs, the ribbon, the absence. Maybe he says something casual like, "What happened to all the treats?" Or, "Looks like you guys finished quick." Or, worst, best case, "Where are the pistachios?" And I would look up, calm, neutral, and say nothing. Or shrug, or murmur, "All gone, sir." He wouldn't push. He never pushes. He'd just give that little nod, the one that says, "Oh well," and leave. But he would know. Not the full truth, not that I personally consumed every single one to keep them from him, but he would know they were gone, that his little ritual was broken, that our corner of the office wasn't his snack bar anymore. That was enough. At 3:28 p.m., the door creaked. My heart jumped, hard enough that my stomach cramped in response. I winced, pressed a hand low on my abdomen. It was only the office boy dropping off courier envelopes. False alarm. I exhaled slowly, drank another small sip from the now empty bottle number 3 I'd refilled from the pantry filter twice. The water tasted flat, metallic. Didn't help. 3:42 p.m. Another creak. This time, him. Navy blazer, light blue shirt, loafers clicking softly. He walked in without looking at anyone at first, eyes straight to the graveyard desk. Pause. He tilted his head slightly, took one more step closer, looked left, right, back at the desk. No smile this time, just a small frown, the kind you make when something is mildly confusing but not important enough to care about. "Wow," he said lightly, almost to himself. "Everything's gone already?" Robbie had glanced up, gave a neutral, "Yeah, we finished it." He nodded, looked around once more, maybe hoping for a hidden tin somewhere. Found nothing. "Nice, you guys enjoyed it then." No one answered. He gave that 2-finger wave, same as always, and turned to leave. Door creak, footsteps fading, gone. That was it. No drama, no confrontation, no questions about the pistachios specifically. But he left empty-handed. For the first time in 2 weeks, he left with nothing. I stayed very still for another full minute after he was gone. Then, slowly, I let out the breath I'd been holding. It hurt to exhale fully, stomach protested, but I did it anyway. He was gone, and I was full. Full of rich man's nuts, stuffed with them, sick with them, but full. The nausea crested again, stronger this time. I stood up carefully, one hand on the desk for balance, walked very slowly to the ladies' room, locked myself in the farthest stall.
sat on the closed lid, let my head hang between my knees, breathed. Didn't need to throw up, just waited for the wave to pass. 10 minutes later, I felt steady enough to return. Back at my desk, Rabia glanced over. "You sure you're okay? You look green." I managed a small smile, the first real one all day. "I'm fine, just ate too much." She raised an eyebrow. "Too much of what?" I glanced at the empty desk. "Everything." She followed my gaze. Understood. Didn't ask more. Sajid came over a few minutes later, carrying his teacup. "The VP looked confused," he said quietly. I nodded. "Good." He gave a small, rare grin. "Yeah, good." We didn't say more. Didn't need to. The day ended at 6:15 p.m. I packed slowly, every movement deliberate, stomach still bloated, but the sharp cramps had dulled to a low ache. Nausea had retreated to a background hum. Headache lingered, but water and time would fix it. On the bus ride home, the streets were dark, cold, crowded. I sat near the window, hand resting lightly on my abdomen, like I was protecting something precious. I wasn't protecting food. I was protecting the feeling that for one single day, the rules had bent the other way. He didn't get to take. I did. Petty? Absolutely. Childish? Probably. Worth the misery? 100%. Because pride isn't always loud or noble. Sometimes it's small, quiet, silly, and stuffed inside you along with 50 pistachios too many. Sometimes it's knowing you drew a line, even if no one else saw it. Sometimes it's going home with a body that feels awful, but a heart that feels intact, untouched, whole. I got off the bus, walked the last stretch under flickering streetlights, unlocked the door, kicked off my shoes, lay on the bed without changing. Stomach growled, not hunger, just protest. I closed my eyes, smiled into the dark. I was full of rich man's nuts, and he couldn't take any more. That knowledge, it tasted better than any pistachio ever could.